I love movies. So in 2019, I joined the app Letterboxd. Letterboxd is a social cataloging app that has, over the past couple of years, skyrocketed in popularity. In 2019, they had around 1.5 million users, and today in 2025, they have 17. Like, it's really crazy the way that this app has blown up, and yet at the end of the day, what makes it so unique, and I hope this never changes, is it's not social networking. It's just cataloging. There is a social component to it where you have a profile and you can find people and you can follow people and you can like things and you can comment, but its purpose is not to connect people, it's to connect people to movies. And that's what I love about it. So today I wanted to do a little audit of my profile of someone that has been using the app for 6 full years. I'm at the theater at least once a week. I follow the Oscar races, all of the auteur films, the film festivals. Like, I really try and be as tuned in as possible, but I don't let it overrun my life. And I wanted to give my perspective of how I then do that on Letterboxd. Basically, when someone comes to my profile, if they come to my profile, I want them to be like, oh, this is a great idea of who Jake is. So my 4 favorite films, I always try and have a collection of movies that describe as wide of my taste that I can. So like Sing Street is an indie musical by John Carney. Amelie is, a cult classic, famed 2001 French film. The Farewell, amazing performance by Awkwafina, and that's a more recent A24 movie in 2019, and then Seven by David Fincher. So I don't change these a lot, but when I do, I try and keep them in these kinds of slots. My bio is practical, if not for anyone else, also for me, where I have my list linked that I go to often. So like 2025 ranked, which I update every time I see a new movie. 2024, so people that maybe haven't seen a lot of movies this current year can go back and they can look at like my 2024 list. And then maybe if you want to find something on streaming, you can look at that and see how I rated it. And then all-time faves, which is also just to give an idea of who I am. And it's, I think, like a great icebreaker. So even for me to have, who has like the memory of a squirrel, to be able to like refer and just like add to this list is great. And then of course I have a link to my show that you are watching. Thank you. And a nice little joke that I swap out every now and then. A box of Bunch of Crunch, a Coke Zero the size of my head, and a 6 p.m. showtime. Hate to see me coming, which is of course to say my ideal time for seeing a movie is 6 p.m. Usually I can eat a little dinner before. Then I can get home and not be out too late, but still feel like I did something that night. I will always buy a fountain soda. They will raise the price to $13 one day, and I will still buy one. And then my concession of choice is Bunch of Crunch, but I have been getting back into popcorn. It's just so many calories. But I love Bunch of Crunch. So let's look at my all-time stats. In the past 6 years, this is only about the past 6 years, I have not gone and backlogged things that I've seen before. So if I had seen a movie before and then I rewatched it in the past 6 years, it's on this list. If I have not, it's not. And as you can see, that's why this chart looks that way. However, I have done a lot of work, and by a lot, I mean obviously not that much, of going back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and consuming a lot of movies that I should have seen, and I still have a long way to go. My watch list is filled with a ton of movies that I know I need to watch, but by putting them in my watch list then gets more pressure. That's a whole other story. As you can see, the highest rated decades, I think this makes sense, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. The 2000s, I feel it both has the nostalgia of this is when I grow up. I'm 30, so, in 2000 to 2010, that was elementary through middle and the start of high school. So those movies for anyone are like very formative. An example that I think is well representative is Mean Girls. To me is a 5-star movie. I don't know if I saw Mean Girls for the first time tomorrow, if I would give it 5 stars, but its impact on culture 21 years later, its impact for that genre throughout the past 21 years is unmistakable. I think it is a blueprint, and I love this movie so much. To me, it is a 5-star movie. But then again, I saw One of Them Days earlier this year, a movie that I loved, and I think I gave like 3.5 stars to. And I wonder if like that becomes like a cult classic, if we'll all look back and be like, One of Them Days is a 5-star movie. I'm open to that conversation. Here are genres, countries, and languages. And then my themes and nano genres. The themes and nano genres interest me because I think it actually is very well representative of the kinds of movies I like. This moving relationship stories, which is like what I imagine all the A24 type of movies are, the focus features, like The Holdovers, which I saw like 5 times. Twisted, dark psychological thriller. That is my go-to movie genre because it is the one that immediately makes me disconnect from the world, where I can like be sitting at home, crucially sitting at home, and turn on a Fincher film, and I can put my phone away on the side of my bed and not look at it for 2 hours. That's what I'm looking for. And to me, at this point in my life, apparently twisted, dark psychological thrillers is number 1 on that list. And then crude humor and satire. Again, probably like in the A24 neon. I'm not really into slapstick. I'm not really into the more children's animation. The closest I get with that is the Despicable Me and Minions franchises. I don't know if you would call that crude humor and satire. Probably not. Maybe. All right, let's look at ratings. So as you can see, my average rating over the years has declined. And there is there's 2 reasons for that. One, I do think the amount of good films we are getting is declining, but also at the end of 2023, I made a pretty critical change in the way I rate things. I don't rate anything else in life. I don't rate music. I don't rate theater I go and see, books I read, but I rate movies out of this 5-star scale. And being from America, there is really no rating system. I know in the UK, they use stars out of 5 for like everything. Here, the closest we had is IMDb. And because of that, IMDb being out of 10 for so long, I wouldn't give a lot less than 3.5 stars if I felt it was competently made and I wasn't mad that I watched it, because 3.5 times 2 is 7. So 7 out of 10. Where a 3 out of 5 is then a 6 out of 10. And that seemed too low. I had to ditch that. I had to move on, because rating things out of 5 and rating things out of 10, while they are the same quantifiable number, they are different. So I made that change. And over the past 2 years, I've gone and really been giving some more fair, lower scores than I normally would have been comfortable of. I do fall into the trap of like, everyone's giving this movie 4 stars. Everyone's giving this movie, 2 stars. I have to be on one end of it, but I do often just stick with my guns and I give the movie what I like. So far in 2025, the average rating is 3.24. 2024 was 3.38. 2023 was 3.52. 2022, 3.58. 2021, 3.14. 2020, 3.25. And 2019, 3.54. So as you can see, 2019 and 2022 being the highest ratings, that makes sense to me. But I also have seen more movies every year. So as you can see, this is 2019 all the way through today. And I've logged 49 films as of today. And that means I'm well on track to succeed the 165 films I logged in 2024. However, that has been because a lot of movies have been at home, since there's been such a limited number of options in the theater. So let's take a look at the recent films I've seen. You're welcome to go through this and like really scrutinize it and judge me all you want, but it's my truth. You're welcome to have your truth. And I don't see you making videos about your Letterboxd. So if you are feeling brave, drop it down below. I'd love to see. I just want people like what they like. And I don't understand anyone that like really fights against it. And I try in my reviews to explain what worked and what didn't for me, or I write like a meme shit post. Going into list, here's some of my all-time movies by color. And again, this is not the best movies I've ever seen. These are the favorite movies I've ever seen. And I think that's a really important distinction that people on Letterboxd tend to understand, but people with no nuance on the internet tend not to. So, take this for what it is. And I would love to know what your favorites are and which one of these you think is insane that it's one of my favorites. I think like the wildest one, actually, we can tell. What is the lowest average rating movie I have on here? Baby Mama. Baby Mama is a classic. Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. I watched that so many times growing up with my family, so I have a lot of nostalgia tied to that. And then The House Bunny. The House Bunny stacks up. I mean, The House Bunny is so good. I watched it 2 years ago, the night before I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and I was like so anxious. So I watched The House Bunny and I laughed the entire time. Why is 16 Candles so low? This is crazy. Okay, let's move on. So let's look at 2024 ranked. So I like to keep this in case people want to come, and A, it gives you an idea of who I am, and B, it can give you recommendations on things you want to watch. I update this every time I see a new movie, and basically what I do is I take the star rating it has and I rearrange it to like make sure it's in that area with the other corresponding movies, and then I decide. Often the tiebreaker is, do I want to watch this again? And I know that is loaded for a lot of people, but there are very few movies that I'm like, I could never watch that again. So something that I think would be fun to do, this is my list order. If we go to the average rating, let's see how off I was. And this brings up a good point with how Letterboxd does ratings, because I don't understand if they do it holistically, where it is like truly just the number of ratings divided by the star, or if it's weighted to account for the amount of people that's seen the movie. Because, for example, The Promised Lands, which is a brilliant epic period drama in, I believe it was Danish, from last year, starring Mads Mikkelsen, like they're saying this is the 6th highest rated of the 77 new movies I saw last year. And that's just like, no one talked about The Promised Land. So like, how could it, if it was so loved, no one talked about it. So the ratings kind of give me a pause. And then let's reverse it. So let's do average rating, lowest first. Which one do I have the highest on my list? Daddy-O at 23 when it's pretty low overall. Longlegs. The problem with Longlegs is in the limited release, everyone was like, oh my God, this is the scariest thing ever, blah, 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 blah. And then everyone saw it and they were like, no, it's not. I thought it was terrifying. So I thought it was very entertaining and well done. So put it at 13. And then, yeah, so I guess the most controversial of these would be We Live in Time. That's weird. And Furiosa. But in hindsight, Furiosa was it was so different than Fury Road, and I want to say we should have known that, but also we had no reason to think that. So it's complicated. I will say I'm also the type of moviegoer that if I don't think I'm going to enjoy something, like I really don't think I'm going to enjoy something, I won't go. Like I am so happy that a Minecraft movie is making so much money and getting young people to go see it, and people are having fun seeing it. Please be respectful in the theaters, though. I don't advocate for bad behavior, but I have never played the game. I know nothing about it. I know I would be very annoyed in those circumstances to then be surrounded by a theater of teenagers, wreaking havoc. So I'm not going. I'm not everyone that I know has given the movie 2 stars. So I have no incentive to actually see it besides the fact that it's a cultural phenomenon, but it's not even a cultural conversation that I'm a part of besides a nerd who looks at how much money it makes. I think I've kind of said my piece. If you want to see more, you can look at my profile on Letterboxd at Lake Jebo. Drop yours below. I would love to follow you back and see what your thoughts are. Everyone's opinion on movies is so different, and what I like about Letterboxd is it allows you a really safe space to explore that and present it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. It helps other people like you who might also enjoy the video find it. You can subscribe so you get the latest episodes, and you can also find me on Spotify, Apple Music, and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. What is your favorite movie that you've seen in the past? We'll do 3 months, whether it's been in theaters or out of theaters. What's your favorite movie? Let me know. I look forward to it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.